Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to really get into some fascinating stuff about I don't know about you, but I always find these little humans we're raising just endlessly
Oh,
fascinating.
absolutely.
We're diving into uh child development, all
Yeah.
those stages, those milestones. We're looking at a bunch of different articles that you shared with me
Mm-hmm.
all about this stuff. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? We're trying to do it without getting too bogged down in the jargon. We want those practical insights, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. We want takeaways. We want something that we can actually use in our daily lives, right?
Yes.
Like those aha moments where you're like, okay, that makes sense now. Because let's face it, sometimes those parenting books, they can feel like they're written in a different language.
They really can. Yeah.
So let's start right at the very beginning. With those tiny humans, just fresh out the womb,
Okay.
and we're going to go on this journey with them
Yeah.
all the way to, those preschool years where they're like little chatterboxes
Right.
running around, demanding snacks.
Yeah, demanding everything right.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wait, I thought I was the one who needed the coffee.
Right. When do they get so demanding and so mobile?
It's so mobile.
Like 1 minute they're, I don't know, it's just kind of like existing.
Blobs.
Yeah. And then the next minute they're like army crawling across the living room floor.
It happens overnight, doesn't it?
It really does.
My God.
It's both like exhilarating and terrifying. At least it was for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because suddenly nothing is baby-proofed enough.
Right, and that's because there are so many neurological developments happening in those first few months.
Right.
Oh, yeah, their brains are like little sponges, just soaking everything up, making connections faster than we can even imagine. I mean, think about it. They go from these reflexive movements, just kind of like grasping and sucking
Wow.
to like holding their heads up, tracking objects with their eyes, and then eventually, bam, rolling, crawling, pulling themselves up on furniture. It's like, whoa. Slow down, kiddo.
Right.
And it's all thanks to this incredible process called synaptic pruning, which basically means that their brains are strengthening those neural pathways that are being used the most. So every time they reach for a toy or try to mimic a sound you're making, they're literally wiring their brains for all those amazing things they'll be able to do in the future.
That's incredible. So it's not just like cute baby stuff. It's actually really important for their development.
It's foundational.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so knowing all that, what kind of things can we as parents and caregivers do to make sure that we're I don't know, encouraging that healthy brain development?
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me in the research was the importance of sensory experiences during that first year.
Sensory experiences, okay.
Yeah, so everything from, singing lullabies
Okay.
to giving them those brightly colored toys, even just the feeling of being held close, it all plays a crucial role in shaping their little brains. There's actually, research showing that infants who are exposed to a variety of sounds and languages early on actually develop stronger cognitive skills later in life.
Wow. Okay, so those, what do they call them? Those baby Mozart CDs or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there actually something to that?
It doesn't have to be Mozart specifically, but exposing them to a variety of music and sounds is definitely a good thing.
Okay.
It's more about the stimulation and the variety than any one specific genre or anything.
Got it. So we're talking about reading to them, playing music, even just talking to them throughout the day.
Yes.
That all counts as those sensory experiences that are shaping their brains.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, shoving information into their little brains. It's about creating a rich and stimulating environment where they feel safe and loved and free to explore.
So it's really all connected. The physical development, the cognitive development, the emotional development, it's all happening simultaneously.
Exactly. It's all intertwined, which is why those early experiences are so crucial. And it's a lot of pressure on parents, right?
Yeah.
Because we're thinking, oh my gosh, am I doing enough? Am I providing enough stimulation?
Am I saying the right thing?
Right, exactly. But I think the important thing to remember is that babies are incredibly resilient.
Okay, good to know.
And they don't need perfection. They just need love, interaction, and a stimulating environment where they feel safe to explore and learn. And speaking of challenges, I think we should probably address the elephant in the room when it comes to those early months.
Oh no, here it comes.
Yeah,
I'm already exhausted just thinking about it.
I know, right? We're talking about sleep. Or more accurately, the lack thereof.
The never-ending quest for a full night's sleep.
Right, exactly.
It feels like a distant memory from a past life.
It really does.
Oh my gosh, sleep. Don't even get me started. It's like
Yeah.
the holy grail of parenting, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, sleep when the baby sleeps.
Right.
But like, when does that actually happen?
Seriously. And who can actually fall asleep that fast?
Not me, that's for sure. And all those sleep training methods out there.
Oh, don't even get me started. It's
Yep.
like everyone's got a different opinion, and you just end up feeling more confused than ever.
Exactly. One article will say, do this, and another one will say, that's the absolute worst thing you can do. It's overwhelming.
So is there any, like, common ground, anything that most experts seem to agree on when it comes to, like, helping those little ones, and let's be honest, ourselves, get a little bit more shut-eye?
Well, one thing that did come up consistently in the research was the importance of establishing a consistent bedtime routine.
Okay, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
same time, same steps every night kind of thing.
Exactly. It's all about creating those cues for their little bodies and brains that it's time to wind down. And, even though it seems like they're not paying attention, those little brains are soaking it all up.
So it's like building those neural pathways we were talking about earlier, but for sleep.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
Right. And one of the articles even suggested dimming the lights and speaking in hushed tones for about 30 minutes before bedtime.
Oh. See, I wish I'd known that when my kids were little.
It really does make a difference. It's like signaling to their little systems that the day is winding down and it's almost time to sleep. And for those really little ones, swaddling can be really helpful too.
Yeah, I remember swaddling being a lifesaver, at least for those first few weeks.
Hmm.
Made them feel all cozy and secure like they were back in the womb or something.
Exactly. It mimics that feeling of being held and contained, which can be really soothing for them.
So we're talking about like a warm bath, maybe a little baby massage, some quiet time with a book or a lullaby, and then lights out at same time every night.
You got it. And the key here is consistency. It might take a little time for them to adjust, but eventually their little body clocks will start to get in sync with that routine.
It's like training those tiny humans, isn't it? And speaking of training tiny humans, anyone else feel like those first steps are both the most amazing and terrifying thing ever?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, on the one hand, you're so excited to see them reach that milestone, but on the other hand, you're like, wait, slow down. The world is a dangerous place.
Right. It's like that moment you realize you can't just plop them down anywhere and expect them to stay put.
And those little hands, they get into everything.
It's like they have a sixth sense for finding the one thing you don't want them to touch.
And they're fast.
Oh, so fast. And speaking of fast, how do they go from those wobbly first steps to like full-blown tantrums in the grocery store practically overnight?
Ah, yes, the toddler years. The land of newfound independence, boundless energy, and of course, those legendary meltdowns.
Don't forget the selective hearing.
Oh, yeah, that too. But as challenging as those toddler years can be, it's also a time of incredible cognitive and social development. Remember that whole sensorimotor stage we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, where they're like exploring the world through their senses and movements.
Exactly. Well, that continues into toddlerhood, but with a newfound focus on language and social interaction.
And suddenly those cute little babbles turn into, I want juice.
Precisely. It's like their vocabulary just explodes and they start to understand and use language to communicate their needs, wants, and, let's be honest, their frustrations much more effectively.
Which is both amazing and a little terrifying, because now they can tell you exactly what they want, and they're not afraid to let you know when they're not happy about it.
Exactly. It's a whole new ballgame, right?
Yeah, it really is. And speaking of new ball games, how do we as parents navigate this stage in a way that encourages their independence without letting those tantrums turn into like full-blown meltdowns every 5 minutes? It's a constant balancing act, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
we want to encourage their independence and let them explore their little personalities, but
Yeah.
also like not lose our minds in the process.
Exactly. And that's where those expert tips come in handy, right? Those little nuggets of wisdom that can make all the difference in those moments where you feel like you're losing your cool.
Okay, so hit me with those nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
What do the experts have to say about navigating the toddler years without, ending up hiding in the pantry with a bag of chocolate chips?
Okay, so one thing that came up repeatedly was this idea of reframing those tantrums.
Reframing. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right. So instead of viewing it as like a battle of wills, like my toddler is trying to take over the world.
Which, let's be honest, sometimes it feels that way.
Oh, absolutely. But what if instead of seeing it as defiance, we tried to see it as a communication breakdown?
Okay, a communication breakdown. I like that. Because, let's face it, their language skills are still developing, so they don't always have the words to express what they're feeling, right?
Exactly. So they might resort to, shall we say, less conventional methods of communication, like, throwing themselves on the floor in the middle of the grocery store.
Been there, done that, bought the oversized T-shirt to hide the evidence.
Oh, I feel that. But, if we can shift our perspective and try to understand what's driving that behavior, it can make a world of difference in how we respond.
So it's about like empathy and patience, right? Easier said than done when you're running on fumes in a prayer.
Totally. Which is why self-care is so important for parents, but that's a whole other deep dive. For now, let's stick with those practical tips for navigating those tantrums. One strategy that really resonated with me was all about offering choices.
Choices, like do you want to wear the red shirt or the blue shirt? Even though both shirts are practically identical, and they'll probably end up wearing neither because they've decided shirts are the enemy today.
Exactly. Even those small choices, even if it feels a little silly to us, can make a big difference for toddlers.
It's like you're giving them a sense of control in a world where they often feel powerless.
Exactly. And that can go a long way in preventing those meltdowns. It's like you're hacking your toddler brains.
Love it. Parenting hacks for the win. Okay, so we've covered the importance of sensory experiences in those early months, the never-ending quest for sleep, and some strategies for navigating those toddler tantrums. What other nuggets of wisdom did those articles have in store for us?
Well, as those toddlers grow and become more independent, they eventually hit another big milestone: preschool.
The big leagues. Remember how we talked about feeling both excited and terrified when our little ones hit those early milestones like crawling and walking?
Yeah.
I feel like sending them to preschool brought on a whole new wave of those same emotions, like, yay, they're growing up. But also, wait, don't leave me. You still need me, right?
It's such a bittersweet time. On one hand, you're excited for them to learn and grow and make new friends, but on the other hand, it's like a little piece of your heart is walking out the door with that tiny backpack and lunchbox.
And those first day of school photos. Don't even get me started. So many emotions.
Seriously, but all those emotions aside, one thing that all the experts seem to agree on was the importance of social and emotional development during the preschool years.
So it's not just about like learning their ABCs and 123s anymore.
Right. While academics are certainly important, those early social interactions are crucial for building essential life skills.
Like how to make friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how to share, how to cooperate, how to navigate disagreements, all those things that will serve them well throughout their lives.
So it's like those pretend games of pirates and princesses they love so much.
Yeah.
That's not just adorable, it's actually helping them build those social and emotional muscles they need for, like, real life.
Exactly. It's like a dress rehearsal for navigating all those complex social situations they'll encounter as they grow up.
That's incredible. And here, I thought they were just really committed to their roles as superheroes and fairies. Okay, so pretend play, check. Any other strategies parents can use to help smooth that transition to preschool? Asking for a friend who may or may not still get a little teary-eyed during drop-off.
Oh, I've been there. One thing that came up repeatedly was the power of routines.
Routines, okay, like a consistent bedtime, meal times, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Having those predictable patterns in place can create a sense of security and stability, which can be especially helpful during times of transition. It's like even though their world is changing, those routines provide a sense of comfort and familiarity.
It's like that feeling of coming home after a long trip, right? Even though you've been out exploring the world, there's something so comforting about being back in your own space, surrounded by familiar things.
Exactly. It's about creating that same sense of security and stability for your little ones, especially during those big transitions.
I love that. And, it's a good reminder for us as parents, too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Life can feel pretty chaotic sometimes, but having those routines, those little anchors in our day, can make a world of difference.
Totally. And, speaking of navigating chaos, if there's one overarching takeaway from all the research we've been diving into, it's this. Every child develops at their own pace.
Okay, that's good to remember.
Right. There's no magic formula, no one-size-fits-all approach to parenting.
So those milestone charts they give you at the doctor's office,
Yeah.
they're more like guidelines than hard and fast rules.
Exactly. They can be helpful for, tracking development in a general sense. But it's important to remember that every child is unique, and they'll reach those milestones in their own time.
That's such a good reminder. Because it's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Especially in the age of social media where everyone's always posting those picture-perfect moments of their kids. It's easy to feel like you're not doing enough or that your child is somehow behind.
So true. But the reality is, our kids don't develop on a schedule.
Exactly. And you know what? That's okay.
It's more than okay, it's actually kind of amazing.
Right. It's what makes each child so unique and special.
And it makes our job as parents a lot more interesting, that's for sure.
That it does. So to all the parents and caregivers out there listening, embrace the messy, celebrate the milestones, both big and small, and remember, you've got this.
And don't forget to enjoy the journey. It goes by way too fast. Until next time, happy parenting, everyone.